All right, so this one was Fermi's Fermentarius, which we found on the birch tree. And I said the great thing about cameras is you can look underneath fungus without having to take it off. But when I looked at the footage, you couldn't really see much to do with the spore to the pores, and I decided to take a specimen anyway. But just for completeness, this is what the pore surface underneath looks like. So you can see that the pores are incredibly tiny here. Okay, and you'll probably also remember that it is quite a woody specimen. It was the wood that gave way, not the fungus, when I removed it. Basically, you can see some bits of birch bark here. So I have just had a bit of a hack at it. Oh, still hanging on. So here you can see these are the pores moving up to here, and then this is the tough flesh. It is a little bit squidgy. The outside gets very dried, but this dries out very quickly. It's called Hoof Fungus. You could probably tell why. It's also called Tinder Fungus. And the reason for that is that once this has been removed from the tree and dried out, it doesn't get wet again. So this fungus has, for thousands and thousands and thousands of years, been carried around to help people start fires. And on the YouTube channel, I've named this Ötzi's fungus, or something similar. Now, Ötzi was an Ice Age traveller who was found in the Alps. They'd originally thought it was a modern mountaineer who'd been covered by snowfall, but it eventually turned out that in fact this was somebody who had been trading in the Alps during the last Ice Age. And Ötzi had some of this fungus on him, and it was part of his fire starting kit. So Debbie's recently shared something else called King Alfred's cakes, or cramp balls, Dalzinia concentrica, on Wildlife I Spy, which is very good for using like charcoal. It's good for starting fires. It's also good for carrying about with a little spark inside it, like a piece of charcoal, so you can kind of transport your fire with you, which is great. And this, very, very useful when you've got to the place where you wanted to set your fire, to act as kindling. So you could shave some little thin pieces off it and then sort of build up in a true Ramirez style. Now the other fungus that Ötzi had on him is this one, which I think is now called Fomitopsis botulinum, or botulinus. When I did my PhD on it, it was called Piptoporus botulinus, but it's all, you know, it's still the same fungus basically. So again, another one on birch, sometimes called the razor strop fungus, because allegedly you can sharpen open razors on it. You see it's got this lovely motley, it almost looks like seal skin, doesn't it? And this one, again, has got these nice fine little pores, and this is very useful for starting fires. It's also, if we compare and contrast with Fomies over here, much easier to cut into, and it has this lovely, very thick white flesh. So this one, Fomies, will grow on the same tree year on year, and it just puts on a new layer of pores. So it keeps getting bigger, it can get very large. This one lasts a year and then falls off and new ones form. So it only has one very thin layer of pores at the bottom, and then all this flesh. You can dry it out a little bit. It's a bit squeezy at the moment, but you can dry it out a bit and you can carve it. And what many ancient European societies did, let me just pull these pores off, they would separate out the flesh section, and they used to carve it into little figures with, they believe, some sort of ritual meaning, and they'd carry them presumably for luck, like carrying a St. Christopher or a little effigy of some description. So you can just peel it off, probably dry it a little bit more. This one's very, very fresh. And then you can carve yourself a little animal or little figures of your loved ones. It's very, very easy to use. So for any of you feeling a bit crafty, you could maybe share some carvings. I'm not crafty. I'm good on pottery, but I'm not a sculptress. Haven't practiced that yet. So you know, you could make yourself a little face, cut him some little eyes, big smiley face like this. Quite easy to work with. So that's a little bit of social history, cultural history to go with natural history. So there we are, two very different but related, not biologically, culturally related species that grow on birch.